Hello, my fellow Republicans. Yay!
Welcome, Caitlyn Jenner.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
It's rare, frankly, as Republicans, that we have so big a celebrity amongst us. I mean, you are the most famous Republican in the world.
Thank you. But they already nominated Donald last night, so I can't get in the running, but I can make a difference.
I think what people would like to hear, probably first, and some folks have even said to me, is Caitlyn Jenner a real Republican?
Okay. First of all, I will answer that one thing. First of all, I would like to thank the American Unity Fund, Margaret, for giving me this opportunity to come in here. They do wonderful work in this community for the entire LGBT community, and to help the Republicans do a better job when it comes to these issues, and they're doing great work. Everything I'm going to say today is my opinion. I do not speak for the trans community. I speak for myself. I have learned so much over the little over a year that I've been out about this community. But the only place I am an expert is in my own experience. And so what I'll talk today is about my experience, because what I have learned over the last year, that there are so many different experiences out there that trans people go through. And certainly I don't know them all and don't know everybody's experience is different. Now, am I really a Republican? Okay.
Some people would think...
My father was in the 5th Ranger Battalion, landed on Omaha Beach. He's buried at Arlington. He was a real good man. And actually, I went to his site a few years ago and realized that the plane that went into the Pentagon went right over my dad's, where he's buried. Thinking if my dad knew what was going on with this country when he fought so hard, and so many people died around him, and he's seeing what's happening with our country, I think he'd be very disappointed. So because of that, I feel like our best hope to get back to a constitutional government with 18 enumerated powers is in the Republican Party. So, but I have to admit I've been very disappointed over the last 5-10 years. And so, but I won't give up hope on it. So that's kind of why I stand on the Republican side. Now, as far as social issues, because when I came out as being Republican, the community, I get it. The Democratic Party does a better job when it comes to LGBT community, the trans community, all that kind of stuff. And Obama actually has been very good from that standpoint, with just recently letting trans people serve openly in the military. They're already there. Finally, they can serve openly. I think it's a very good step for our community for equal rights. But I think the Republican Party needs to understand. They need to know people who are trans. There are actually trans people out in this audience right now that you have no idea that they're trans, okay? Which is a wonderful thing. And so I'm here today, so you, since most people don't know anybody who's trans, get to know somebody. And I have met some of the most wonderful people in the world who have dealt with their identity all their life, who have done tremendous things with their lives. They're smart, they're intelligent. They're just amazing people, what they've gone through to be able to live their life authentically. And courageous people. And I think they deserve our respect. So that's why I'm here today. And I want to help the Republican Party in so many ways. There's certain people and certain elements within the Republican Party when it comes to trans and the entire LGBT community.
So So, I mean, one of the things we know is that you've gotten more sort of pushback and criticism from the media because you self-identify as a Republican.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Honestly.
It was easy to come out as trans. It was harder to come out as a Republican. Okay? Yeah. Oh, I did. Yeah. Oh, I did, and still do today. I have my beliefs. I've been around a long time, and I want to share. One thing that was really important when I decided to transition and to do this after, at that time, 65 years of struggle, was one that I could make a difference. Live my life authentically, but then also be in a position and with a platform to make a difference in the world. And what a great opportunity at my age to be able to do something like that. And so that was important to me. And so this is part of the process.
You know, you're a Republican, which is one hit against you. You're also a person of faith, which is another hit against you if you're dealing with the left-wing media. Can you maybe speak to how your faith informs you and maybe your transition and how you live your life as a transgender woman?
Faith has a lot to do with it. Actually, you may not know, Chris and I, back about 6 or 7 years ago, we helped a pastor who was not working at the time start his own church called California Community Church. And Pastor Brad has been a good friend and just wonderful to me. I have always, when I explained myself to like my children, to anybody, I would always use this. I would say, look, okay, this is how it goes. I said, God's up there making a little Bruce, okay? And so he's looking down, he says, okay, what do we do with this one? Well, let's give him, let's make him a good-looking guy. Let's give him good looks. Let's make him intelligent. Give him great drive, great enthusiasm for life and all this sort of stuff. And, well, let's make him athletic. That's, you know, in fact, with this one, let's make him really athletic, okay? That's cool. So God's handing out all these wonderful qualities. And then he sits back in his chair at the end and he goes, wait a second, look at all these wonderful qualities. I always wondered, in God's eyes, how does he see me? How am I doing with this issue? When talking to all my children and telling them in that little story, I knew at the end, after I had talked to all my kids, the next one I had to talk to was good old Pastor Brad. And I invite him over. He had no idea, but for about 2 years, I had been destroyed in the tabloids. I had paparazzis following me everywhere. And every horrible story in the world was, you know, there in the grocery line every week. And so I invited Pastor Brad over, and we sat down and we started talking about faith and my feelings and everything that had been going on. And kind of that night, after he told me that God still loves me no matter who I am, I said to myself, you know what? Maybe this is the reason God put me on this earth, to tell my story. At this point in my life, I've done so much as Bruce, as a person. I have had 10 children. I have loving kids. I raised every one of them. They're all up and out, and I'm all here all by myself. My kids are all gone. And maybe at this point in my life, and at this point in society, because I thought I would transition back in the 80s. I went 6 years, and I was just really struggling. I thought I would transition then, but I couldn't go through it. I got to 39, and I just could not go any far. As I say, it wasn't time. But maybe now, number one, to live my life authentically. And number two, in God's eyes, maybe he thinks I can make a difference in the world. And so that was the thing that really kind of inspired me to take that next step. That, you know what? I'm going to be okay. I can handle pretty much anything you throw at me, you know? I'm very confident in myself. But what about this community? There's so many issues that are out there that we need to talk about, to bring equality to. That maybe if I do it right, maybe I could have the opportunity in expressing my story and telling my story that it can make a difference in the world.
And it's all the more powerful that you are a Republican making that case to other Republicans and helping Republicans understand that being trans is a real thing. You know,
it is a real thing. We are part of society. We're out there. We're part of humanity. It's not like all of a sudden this issue just came up over the last few years over bathroom issues or this or that or equal rights. We've been around through civilization from the beginning of time. You know, God created a very colorful human beings all throughout the world. If we look at the issues here, certainly we do have issues here. But if you look at the issues around the world, I've met with Samantha Power at the UN, and we were talking about the issues around the world. In fact, Nigeria just petitioned all the countries in Africa to drop my show, I Am Kate. And it was too bad. And they wound up going that direction. So my little show, which talks about a lot of these issues and does a lot of stuff, won't be shown in Africa. And it was too bad because Candace, one of the girls on the show, Candace Kane, had got an email from a trans guy over in Africa, in Nigeria, and said, this is my only link to
bathroom
I am, and everybody in the trans community is for safety. We want bathrooms to be secure. We want women to be secure. We want men to be secure. We want safety in bathrooms. I don't want anything to happen. It just so happens all the laws that are on the books right now protect people in bathrooms. A guy going into a bathroom, whether he's wearing a Laker uniform or a dress, okay, and molesting somebody is illegal, and we want him prosecuted and put away. So the laws are already on there that protect people in bathrooms. But we're talking about here is something a little bit different, okay? The bathroom issue has been used politically for many, 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 many years. Going back to 1877, and the state of Massachusetts was the first bathroom law where there were actually men and women's bathrooms. And the reason they did that was because at that time the men controlled everything. Well, women were slowly working into the workplace. They were going into the industry, in the industrial world. They were working in places. Men didn't really like that. They thought they were weaker and on and on and on, and all their excuses. So they thought, you know what, we can kind of show that by actually having a women's bathroom because they're weak and they have to be protected. We had many years ago
about civil rights. I mean,
civil rights movement. We had
right?
black bathrooms, white bathrooms. We had to protect the white people from the black people. Going all the way in.
Women's rights. I mean,
women's
women
rights. It goes on and on and on. We had all these issues throughout the years. So this is not new. It's just something that the people probably are hearing about for the first time. I have not had any issues about bathrooms myself. I haven't used a men's room in a year and a half. And thank God, because there's some great conversation going on in the ladies' rooms, okay? Yes. And I just want you to know, girls, that I follow all the rules. I've never flushed a feminine product down a toilet. Okay? Yes. But this issue is not about me, it's about the kids. Because of our society today, kids are coming out much younger. Like when I was young, I don't even know if there was a word transgender. I just didn't even know why I felt this way. Today, with so much information out there, the internet, kids at a much younger age are starting to be able to self-identify. So there's more and more of them. But the bigger problem is we have a terrible suicide rate of young kids. Just in the San Diego area alone, out near where I live, we had 4 kids last year, 4 children who all attempted suicide. Now, why did they do this? Bullying is the biggest problem. Not fitting in, suffering from tremendous depression, okay? They get bullied in school. Now we have the internet out there. Online bullying is overtaking the impact of actually personally in school being bullied. Now they're being bullied internationally. So you have all these things that are affecting them. And now you're telling me that the state of North Carolina is going to come in and bully you too and say, you can't live your authentic life and you have to go in this other bathroom. It just doesn't work. It's even more depression for these kids. I have friends who work in trans suicide hotlines. The call rate has gone up ever since this whole bathroom issue is gone. We have young people that are at risk, okay? We had, over the last few years, we had 3 Republican state representatives, John Hinson, a Larry Craig, and a Paul Allen, who were all arrested for lewd behavior in a men's bathroom, okay? So I know how government loves statistics. During that time period, no trans person had ever been in a bathroom that had ever had any problem. Nobody was arrested. Trans people were fine. Maybe what we should do is ban Republican representatives at a state level from being in bathrooms if we're trying to protect people. So there's just, it's almost, you're creating laws for a non-issue. We don't have a problem here. And what they're thinking is we want to protect the kids. When you call a trans person a man in a dress, you're totally misgendering them. They are not men in dresses. They are trans people. And so that's an important point. And in the law, in the state, I think it's around 18, 19 states now, have non-discrimination laws on the books. And in those states, in some cases, for quite a long time. There's no rise in criminal behavior in bathrooms with trans people.
There's not a single case.
There's not one single case. One single case. Okay. Bathroom. Yeah. And so all of these issues come into play. But we still have a lot of work to do because there's over 30 states right now that do have discrimination laws in place. And you can legally discriminate against anybody in the LGBT community, but especially in our case, in the trans community.
So, if there were, there's a lot of, we're all Republicans here, people running for office, people thinking about running for office. If you could give some advice or, if you wanted Republicans to understand something about the experience of being trans that they could take with them into their public policy, or if Donald Trump were right here, right now, what would you tell him to help better understand the experience of being a trans person?
The experience for me has been, I have seen so many trans people who have struggled, in my case, my whole life. And they have struggled for many, many years. And once they finally make the decision and live their life authentically, these people absolutely thrive, okay? I mean, I have this terrible habit of calling. If somebody writes me and they put their number down, another trans person, I'll call them, and or anybody who writes articles or this or that, and I've never talked to them, I'll call them after the article. And they say, especially if a trans person, I want to know your story. I've heard some of the most amazing stories there is out there of people. They have been through so much to get to where they're at. And for that, like an athlete going on the athletic field and training and working, and I trained for the games and worked for the games, and for going out there and performing, people will look at that performance and respect that person for what he's accomplished. I have tremendous respect for the trans community and what they have gone through to be able to get there, to be able to live their authentic self. And the stories are overwhelming. And I would tell the Republicans, I would tell Donald, the whole group, that these are people that are out there that have been marginalized for so many years. They're out there. I know in the voting scant, it's a small community. I totally agree with that. It is a small voting community. but they're out there. We need to deal with it properly. We need to be open about it because it is about the kids, the next generation growing up. It's not about me. It's not about other older trans people that have been out there for a while. It's about the next generation coming up. And we have to provide a safe environment for them. And that's by far the most important thing.
You know, we were talking a little bit earlier, and I'd love to sort of leave it on where you feel that there's hope and where you think we're moving forward. You said the difference between when you were struggling with these issues and kids struggling now is that the internet actually can be an incredible resource.
Yeah. Well, the internet, you know, they say I made a big difference in coming out and the publicity and this. Maybe I did make some, hopefully, positive difference in understanding this community. But more importantly, the game changed when the internet came out. Back in the 80s, I was, from 1984 to 1990, I was terribly struggling with my identity. I basically lived in my house for 6 years, never really came out, because I never felt like I ever fit in anywhere. But then got to the age of 39, couldn't go any farther, and I thought, for me, it just wasn't time. Today, but at that time, I had no information. And I had a hard time finding a therapist. I mean, it took me months just to find somebody who specialized in this. Well, today, with the internet, that has all changed. There is so much information out there. For all you people who are interested in some really great organizations that really make a difference, I work very closely with GLAAD. Nick Adams is kind of head of trans issues. They have really, as far as the way the media has done, they have done a phenomenal job. They have been a great ally of mine. They have been great. But there are so many organizations, people that are willing to help in the entire LGBT community. That information is out there. Stories of trans people. For young people, it's an opportunity to know, you know what, I'm not alone. Me, I always thought I was alone. And I'm the only person, okay? But today, so because of that, kids at a younger age are able to feel more comfortable in talking to their parents, talking to family members, and not going through the struggles like I did or so many trans people did for so many years.
Caitlyn, I speak for all of us. Thank you for having the courage not just to live your life authentically, but to continue to be a Republican. And then to take that energy forward to help make the Republican Party truly the Big Tent Party. Thank you for being here with American Unity Fund.
No, you guys have been absolutely great. No, you know, I'm not giving up on this country. I'm not giving up on our Constitution. I'm not. I want this country to thrive. I want this country to be the best place in the world to do business. I want jobs for everybody. I want jobs for the trans community. And so hopefully we can all make some positive changes if we all work together.
All right. Hear, hear. Thank you, Caitlyn.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for Caitlyn Jenner and Margaret Hoover. And hold 1 second. 1 second. Caitlyn, before you leave the stage, before you leave the stage, one thing you just said. But guess what? Your community is multiplied by your family.
Yeah.
There are 330 million Americans who consider you family.
Well,
So that's how big your block is.
I totally agree. The amount of support that I had seen has been overwhelming. And yes, we are a small community, but we hopefully are an influential community. Let's get it done.
Big round of applause. Thank you. Again, if you could, a big round of applause for American Unity Fund. And I want to leave you with just one last thought, final thought. Pastor Martin Nehemiah warns us all. Those who stay silent in the face of intolerance may well find themselves its next target. Let's remember that.